Picking up the pieces of my sweet shattered dream. I wonder how the old folks are tonight. Her name was Anne, and I'll be damned if I recall her face. She left me not knowing what to do. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you. Turning back the pages to the times I love best, I wonder if she'll ever do the same. Now the thing that I call living is just being satisfied with knowing I got no one left to blame. Carefree highway, I got to see you, my old flame. Carefree highway, you've seen better days, the morning after blues, from my head down to my shoes. Carefree highway, let me slip away on you.
We're here to celebrate the life of Gordon Jennings and to celebrate his gift to the world that he provided us, and to bring him back home to a place that was so special to him and so special to our family. We spent many time here in Yellowstone, and particularly here in Lamar Valley, just witnessing life, witnessing the birth of life, and witnessing kind of the circle in which we all kind of share this great big ball spinning free in the universe. In this spot, I explained to folks here before we walked down that 20 years ago, Dad and I were here, and we watched some magnificent things take place just on the other side of these waters. And you know, Dad was many things to many people, but most importantly, he was a teacher, and he was such a great storyteller that anytime you went into a place like this, you were going to hear thousands upon thousands of stories, and they all tied together.
Slip away on you.
With Bronze Star of Valor, and as we were looking at things, as we were closing out the old home that he and Mom shared, Mom had come across the orders for this award that was given to Dad, and we have a picture of the ceremony from which this was read, and Dad earning this Bronze Star of Valor upon returning from Vietnam. And the orders specifically, and the reason for earning this award, were for heroism in connection with military operations against hostile forces. Captain Jennings distinguished himself by heroic actions on the 26th of July 1966 in the Republic of Vietnam. On this date, at approximately 1920 hours, the 25th Infantry Division base camp at Cu Chi came under a hostile mortar attack. Captain Jennings immediately sought the cover of a bunker near the officers' billets. Once in the bunker, he noted a severely wounded soldier that required immediate medical treatment. Without regard for his own safety, Captain Jennings left the security of the bunker and ran more than 60 feet of open ground to secure first aid material from the BOQ. Enemy mortar rounds were still falling within the area as he returned to the bunker and assisted in administering aid to the fallen soldier. It was determined that the man needed immediate medical evacuation due to the man's loss of blood. and Captain Jennings again left the bunker to secure a cot to use as a makeshift stretcher. After obtaining the cot, he with 2 other men carried the wounded soldier to a nearby roadway and placed him in a passing ambulance. Captain Jennings then accompanied the wounded comrade to another area, assisted in the recovery of other wounded, and proceeded to the aid station to further assist in their offloading. Captain Jennings' conduct under hostile fire aided in the prompt evacuation of a critically wounded soldier. His devotion to duty and unselfish attitude are in the keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, the 25th Infantry Division, and the United States Army. Mom, you also had something that you wanted to share.
Well, I wanted to say that there was a formal celebration and acknowledgement of when he had done at Fort Belvoir months later. But what Chris just read is what the upper echelon command wrote right after it happened. That's why I like that, because the formal thing that was at the big ceremony didn't read like that. It was more formal.
Yeah.
And
they actually explained what happened in that in detail.
And I really wanted that one read. But going through everything and selling the house has made me reflect on our life together. And that really explains why I married him. There's nothing more that could explain it, because I grew up in Westchester County and the values were all materialistic. There really wasn't any other value that people thought about or talked about. And when I met Gordon, because I had never liked that, I'd never felt like I fit in, I knew he had values. I knew they were real similar. And we spent hours talking about our values because they were so important to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start with the mission statement, but then I want to talk a little more about experiences and stuff. Gordon wrote a personal mission statement, and I think it was probably about 12 or 15 years ago. I lead an active life of leadership in the service of others. My approach is one of inquiry and openness to new ideas. The pursuit of knowledge is fundamental. I seek continual improvement personally and professionally. I seek opportunities to help others achieve greatness as they see it, to facilitate learning and to contribute to the advancement of knowledge. We are all travelers on a journey. I desire to be a good companion and to make the way easier for others. I can live this ideal by being less judgmental, dropping the injustices of the past, and concentrating on the good that is in others. I lived through a tour of duty in Vietnam where many good friends died. I hope I am worthy to have survived. I am committed to nature. Wildlife, the environment, hunting, fishing, the wilderness are essential to my sense of well-being. All dogs, elk, marine animals, eagles, and waterfowl are significant to me. But the grizzly bear is my totem, and I grow in wisdom as I learn the lessons of the bear and other animals I can teach. I wish to live in harmony with the Great Spirit and the central principles of all the world's religions. The measure of my success in life will be found in my family, my colleagues, and my students. If any of them have successful journeys, then I will have been successful. I hope to leave the world better in some small way from my having been there, but I think it was a big way. So anyway, I wanted to start with that because that's who he was. Then I think I've told so many of you, I've had a chance to reflect on all the adventures we've taken. We called them vacations, but they were more than vacations. We always wanted to try something new, do something different. And Chris and I found this picture of Dad and I in Moab, and we were going down the Colorado River rafting, having the time of our life. It was awesome. But the most wonderful experience that we ever had on a journey was to Alaska. And Dad took these pictures. And here's a mother bear with 2 cubs. we were maybe 25 feet away from them, and
Wow.
you didn't talk, you didn't make eye contact with them. You had just taken this journey hiking in to be at a place where you could see them, and you can all look at these good. This was our favorite thing. This was terrific. This was the mother, and she was walking with her 2 cubs because this great big male bear came out, and females get away from them because they'll kill their babies. And so they walked by, and I've always thought this was a spunky little male that raised up on his hind feet to say hi. But it was a wonderful trip. It was one of our adventures, and it was my favorite one, and it was Dad's favorite one since it was his totem bear. And then, you know, when he went places like to the Rhinelander bakery, they loved him, just loved him. He walked in, they knew who he was. They always got him biscuits for Buddy. But one of the places that loved him for 30 years was our dentist. And she sent this absolutely gorgeous card, and I wanted to read it because it shows the kind of relationships he built in places like in doctor's offices or dentists. The card reads, "No time on earth is long enough to share with those we love or to prepare our hearts for your goodbye." And it's signed by everybody in the office, but what Cindy wrote, who's the dentist, "Oh my, how I will miss Gordon. It was always a good day when he was in my schedule. I looked for the time that I'm sorry, I'm screwing this up. I looked for each story, the ideal hunting misadventure or the dog story. He and Buddy were quite the pair. From the broken lunchtime tooth to the new millennium, we had a good run. Nothing but great memories. Thinking of you, Cindy." And then the other ones all signed it, and they absolutely loved him. They loved his stories. They loved how he came in, and he just lit up the place when he was coming into a place like that, like dental and having dental work. But in any event, I thought that kind of was an example. But I also had the opportunity to go through all the files and all his work files, and what amazed me, just amazed me, he never showed me this. He had a work file, it's that thick, and it's letters thanking him for the work he did. He would facilitate really difficult situations with management and the people that worked for him. He went to Indian reservations where Indians don't like you, to look them in the eye, do close proximity, and they were with BLM people who didn't know how to act around him. And after he was with them for about an hour, he had them engaging with each other. And no one knows how he did that. He was the most fantastic teacher I've ever known, and I was head of faculty and curriculum, and I was the one that was above them all, so to speak. But he was incredible, the way he could get students out of their shell and what he could do. So anyway, I went through everything, and I realized he really was a unique and great man. Very few like him. And I feel so wonderful that I was married to him all those years. The last ones were hard, but I don't think about those anymore. I think about all the good times we had together. So I'm glad. Pop, you and I have spent so many times here in this valley, and you belong here. This is your final resting place. God bless you. The universal God.
Yes. I'd like to open it up to anyone else who would like to say something on Dad's memory.
Well, I'm the next oldest, right? So I'll reiterate the storytelling, and always entertaining. Sometimes we heard the same stories, but they got better each time. And
You do, don't they?
in our dinners together, inevitably things would lapse into politics, and he and I would meet each other's eye and do a silent nod, and he'd say, "Okay." Basically, let's change the subject. This is going down a rabbit hole, but we always met each other's eye for that closure of the political discussion, which was kind of a signature bond there. Enough of the speculation. Let's go back to real life stories.
Thank
I don't really know what to say, I guess, but I'm just so glad that we could all be here. I know that's exactly what he would have wanted. And he was the best teacher. Every story he told had some sort of lesson to it, which was, he was the grand poobah of storytellers, and that was a big part of why. And he really was great.
Michael. Thank you, Missy.
Yeah. Something that Grandma said that kind of stuck out to me in his mission statement was how he talked about wanting to enable people to grow to their satisfaction, and not to dwell too much on me, but growing up, going through the school system, and, as someone that's not neurotypical, you realize how many teachers just kind of want you to sit down, shut up, and turn in your homework so they can get their paycheck and get their raise for having all their kids pass the state curriculum. But Grandpa never, always struck me as an educator that wasn't there for, to make rigid and, to have robots come out of his classes, and, in the ways that he encouraged, anything that I, found interesting in, he would be there to, tell me, what books are you reading? And, just always very, it was always a cooperative, a guide, in his, he had a very guiding mentality to his teaching as opposed to a, rigorous, do this, I'm the teacher, but he was much more collaborative about it, which I always appreciated.
You put it very well, Michael.
Yeah.
You captured that a lot.
It's all the right reasons.
Thank you, Michael. And
I'd like to add one thing this kind
Yes.
of makes me think about. We would live in family situations, and a lot of the other males in the family really believed in discipline, and they'd yell at their kids when something bad happened or something. Dad, and sometimes it was painful, would sit down with Dave and Chris when something bad happened, and he would talk to them and reason with them and explain why it wasn't a very good thing to do. He had all the patience in the world, and it really stood out. But sometimes it lasted a long time, didn't it, Chris?
Yeah. Sometimes we had quite a big lesson. That is true. Thanks for mentioning that one. Appreciate it.
Well, yeah. I just want to say, I didn't really know him too well. I mean, even with you, we have our lunches and stuff like that, but compared to other grandparents and stuff like that, and even other people in the family and everything, I just didn't know him as well as everybody else. But the times I did, and even before reading all this, I could see he's easily the most selfless person I knew. I mean, even going with the stories, they may be about him or his life or whatever, but like you guys are saying, they always had a lesson to be learned in it, or a meaning, even if it's about him or whatever. And yeah, I just think he was always just trying to help people get to their best potential. So
say. Here come Johnny singing, I got a woman down in the tunnel trying to make it pay. He got the action, he got the motion. Oh yeah, the boy can play. Dedication, devotion, turning all the nighttime into the day. Do the song about a sweet love and woman. Do the song about the night. When you do the walk all night. Yeah, you do the walk all night. Here come Johnny, gonna tell you the story. Hand me now my walking shoes. Here come Johnny with the power and the glory. Backbeat, the talking blues. He got the action, he got the motion. Yeah, the boy can play. The dedication, devotion, it's turning all the nighttime into the day. The song about a sweet little woman. They do the song about the night. Then they do the walk all night. Yeah, you do the walk all night. Here come Johnny singing oldies goldies. Be Babalula, baby, what I say. Here come Johnny singing, I got a woman down in the tunnel trying to make it pay. He got the action, he got the motion. Oh yeah, the boy can play. The dedication, devotion, and turning all the nighttime into the day. And after all the violence and double talk, it's just a song in all the trouble and the strife. You do the walk. Yeah, you do the walk all night. You do the walk all night. Woo.
Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.